Hi everybody, Leslie here. I know if you're a regular subscriber, this has been a while coming. I've not been on in quite some time. I'll put a little explanation on the end of the video if you want to know why. But I wanted to pop on and let you know that in October, HobbyMaker TV, which is one of the UK TV craft channels, they launched a competition called Hunt for a Handmade Hero. And you had to put a 3-minute video in showing a technique, and the prize was basically to win £500 credit on your HobbyMaker account and the potential to go and be a craft demonstrator for them. So I sent a 3-minute video. I already have the filming set up, so I did that. And I thought nothing more of it. And then I got an email saying, could I go for a screen test? So I went for a screen test. It's about 2 weeks ago now. And so I got to go to the TV channel. Completely forgot to take any behind the scenes photos, didn't even take a selfie in the green room. But I've been for a screen test, which was the semi-final of the competition. And then last week they let me know that I'm in the final 4. So I've actually got through to the final of the HobbyMaker TV Hunt for a Handmade Hero. And I'm going to be on HobbyMaker TV on the 11th of December in the 4 p.m. hour. So that's 4 p.m. UK time. And they are on Sky, they are on Freeview, they are on Virgin, and they also broadcast live on YouTube every day. So if you do want to watch me and support me in any way, that would be amazing. But I thought some people might be interested in the process that I had to go through. So I've already said the first thing you had to do was submit a 3-minute video introducing yourself and showing sort of your favourite technique. Hi everybody, I'm Leslie O'Donnell, and today I thought I'd show you one of my favourite techniques. So this is an eclipse card, and it's called an eclipse card because you kind of use the shadow, like a shadow from an eclipse, to hide your word. So hopefully you can see with the shadow that says thank you. You can do this on stamp backgrounds, inky backgrounds. If you like alcohol inks, it works really well on alcohol ink backgrounds. But today I'm just going to do it quickly using a paper pad. So to start with, I picked the die I wanted to use. So I'm using this Thank You die from Time for Tea Designs. And this is the paper pad I'm using. And I just used the background paper. This is the one I used, picked which way around I wanted it, and put it onto, this is a 6x6 card blank, and trimmed around the edges. And that was how I got my background. And then I picked my topper. In this particular set, a lot of the toppers had words on, but I just wanted a picture. So I used this nice flower one, which is what we've got there. And all you need to do is, I use some nice really low tack tape because you don't want it to rip your picture. Work out which way up you want your picture, because this one could go any way up. Pop your die on, stick it down with your low tack, and run that through your die cut machine. And it's really important to keep all the pieces from that when you do it, because you want to have all the little middles and anything out the middle of the A or the middle of the O, they need to drop back down into your picture. So all you do once you've got your picture and your topper cut out is use your die, and I use scrap paper. So I keep all my scraps when my stamping goes wrong or my inking goes wrong, anything like that. Keep all your scraps, and then you use your die and cut out layers of your letters. So in this case, I think I used about 4 or 5 layers underneath, and stick them together and layer them up, and then stick your patterned one on the top, and then just drop them back in like puzzle pieces. So it's all just done with glue, nothing fancy. And then when you've stuck those back in, you drop your middle pieces like the middle of the O and the middle of the A back in. And it's a really quick technique, it doesn't take long at all, and it's very versatile, and it's one of my favourite techniques. I use it all the time. And the ante, that was on the paper pad as well, so all the colours match. That's the beauty. So that was off this corner on the sheet that has all the words and letters in there. I like using paper pads because all the coordination's done for you. So that's my favourite technique. I've been card making and crafting for about probably more than 20 years now, and I like to crochet, cross stitch, I do a bit of embroidery. I've been making cards and cake toppers and all sorts for my daughters since they were tiny little children. So I've done a bit of everything using digital die cutting machine as well as all the traditional card making techniques. From that point, then I got called to the studio to go and do a screen test, but they sent me a package. So they sent me this package, which I got to keep. So I've already sort of won a prize. So this was a diamond pressed set. If it's still available on HobbyMaker, I will stick a link in for that. So this was, I think it's called Crafty Hugs. So it was a really lovely set that I had to make samples, and I'll drop some photos in because I didn't keep the samples. I left them with HobbyMaker. I offered and they kept the samples. So they've kept my samples, so they might appear on screen at some point as well. But it was a lovely set that I got sent with all these nice stencils. There's a blank embossing folder which you can use to help apply double-sided tape. It's like a dot, double-sided. And if you don't use the blank folder, you can use the little card to press the double-sided on. But it had these lovely stamps, which are all little crafty images. I should have had some paper ready to put behind these because they don't come on a backing sheet. So mine are already quite well used because I created a load of samples. So all those little crafty images, and then the little crafty sayings and a few more crafty images on there. Then there was outline dies for all of the actual images. So that's in there. So I created all those lovely samples, but then you had to have something ready to do as a demo in your screen test. And they did also let you know whilst you were there that they were going to stop your demo, because that can happen on live TV, and they'll stop your demo at some point and jump in, and so that you have to react. So I'll show you what they did, but I thought I'd show you the demo I actually did for my screen test. You could use it with any set of stamps. So this is for when you've got stamps that are quite difficult to line up with their outlines. So for example, I used this one because this is a pencil, and obviously it's quite long, and if you don't get that dead straight, when you come to die cut that image out afterwards, you've not got a lot of margin for error with the die to fit around it. So if you've not seen this technique before, it works with any outline dies. First thing you need to do is cut your images out of some scrap card. It could be cereal box, it doesn't need to be your best stamping card. And you do need a stamp press to do this. Any stamp press will work. Scrap paper behind whatever you're stamping going to use. And this just helps you line it up in a minute. And what you do is you drop your stamp into your die cut shape, and it will drop in there like a puzzle piece. And I think I did it better live than I'm doing it right now. So you drop it in there. Obviously at home I would stick my head over it, but you don't want to see the top of my head on camera. Once you've dropped it in there like a puzzle piece, lean over, check it's lined up, and give it a little stamp. And you can check your alignment, and if it's not right, pick it up. Mine's a bit skew with, so I can pick it up. I could move the piece of paper underneath, or I can just have another go. But again, it drops in like a puzzle piece. You can make sure it's nice and straight. Pick it up with your stamping platform, have another go, and then see if it's in the right place. Let's pop in. We'll say it's right. Then all you need to do is die cut out of whatever card you're gonna colour on or whatever. Drop your die cut into your opening, and if you've got one of those sticky mats to put underneath, you can always do that if they're not sticking in your hole. I don't know how well I've lined this up because, like I said, I don't want to put my head on camera. You don't want to see my grey hairs coming in. So you do that, pop it in there, and you've lined up your die with your die cut. And if you're multi-cutting and cutting lots of them out, that's one way to do it. Because all you need to do is cut as many as you want from as many scraps as you want, and then stamp, stamp, stamp. And it's much quicker than relining the die cut up loads of times as well. So that was what I demonstrated as a quick tip. And then the second thing that I was demonstrating was colouring in. So if you've got dye inks, which is what I was using then, this works with any dye inks, works with distress inks as well. I tend to use the lid as a palette, so I can tap just the tiniest bit of ink in there, and anything that dries on the lid will reactivate with water as well. And then I can use my water brush in the lid to pick up exactly the same colour that I've stamped with, and then I can colour in. So that was the other thing that I was in the middle of demonstrating when I got interrupted. So I'm not actually going to interrupt. I will show you the finished card that these were going to go on. But that was as far as I got on my screen test. So I had already prepared part of my card, and I'd already stuck down all of these ones. So they're all just stuck flat. And I was just going to add all of my other images. Oh, and I was also going to stamp the missing red part. But you get the idea. I was going to stamp the missing red bit there as well. And I had everything ready to go so that everything was ready for me to stick these on. And this was going to be my card. And I did have a finished one of these, so I'd actually already shown the finished sample as well, which is the one they kept. And pop those on. And I don't have nice fancy pictures of all my samples because I forgot to take them before I went. So pop these all on. But it was quite an experience getting to go behind the scenes and meeting all the producers. So if you do watch HobbyMaker, I've met Kat and Liam. My screen test was with Andy Love, who has been doing TV for many, many years. So that was my sample, and I'd used one of the stamps and stamped on vellum with VersaFine ink and heat embossed it, because VersaFine doesn't dry particularly well on vellum because it's not porous. So I heat embossed it with clear embossing powder. You should be able to see that quite nicely on there. And I was going to use the sticky sheets that came in the kit to stick that on because it's an all-over adhesive. If I can find the one that I've been using, there it is. Because it's an all-over adhesive on these, it's actually really good for vellum. So I will show you this. This sheet's already kind of half used up, so the sticky is on the clear side. This is just the cover sheet, and I've used it quite a lot already, but you can't really see, but I can see where it is. And the idea with the blank embossing folder is that you could then run that through inside your embossing machine to make sure you get really good coverage on there, or the little card that it came with, you can just use that to rub over to make sure you get really good adhesion, because vellum's so tricky to stick, but it basically makes it like a sticker. So because the whole back's covered, it's actually covered in tiny little dots, but it does work if you don't rip your vellum on the way off, which I just did by pulling it, but no one will notice once it's stuck down. So if we stick that on there, let's pop it there, trying to hide the bit where I ripped it slightly. You'll see you can't see any of the adhesive through that, but it is really well stuck. So that was my sample, or one of my sample, but I didn't get to finish it. And the thing that they dropped in, which I also got to keep, so this was presented to me without me having seen it before. This is a really big, thick pad, and it's basically was asked, what would I use this for? So obviously this is great for if you are inking and painting. It was diamond press as well, so it was the same brand. So this was a nice pad that you can use sort of as a desk liner to when you get inky and everything. So I think I answered that it'd be great for inking on, but I'd also use it to help line up with a tea ruler to make sure I got my greetings straight, because you could hook your tea ruler on the end of it, and I'm not very good at getting greetings straight, but also so that if you've been inking, so you don't have to keep wiping up in between times, and then if you don't wipe up properly and you miss a bit, you end up getting the ink on the back of your card, if you've ever done that, obviously with this you could just take a sheet off and get rid of it. So that was what I was interrupted with and presented to live think on my feet of what I would use that for. So that was my screen test, and honestly it was a really lovely experience because I got to go and look around all the different studios. I've actually already got my next kit, so for the final I've been sent another box of goodies. It's from Arden Creative, completely different to what I had for my semi-final. So I'll be in the Arden Creative hour on the 11th of December at 4 p.m. Hopefully some of you will watch and maybe support me then. I'm not sure if it's going to be a live vote or what it is, how they're deciding who the winner is. I'll find out probably when you do. I said at the start of the video I would explain why I've not been doing any videos. If any of you are regular watchers, you might remember I said I'd had a really bad shoulder, and that had got worse, and I'd reached the point that I had a frozen shoulder and I couldn't lift my arm probably past about there. Eventually at the start of October, after 18 months being in pain, I did actually get a cortisone injection. So I had a steroid injection, and whilst I still can't, I've not got as much, I can now just about lift my arm. So that's why I hadn't been doing videos. I'd still been crafting, I just didn't have the energy and the motivation to be making videos. Thank you for watching. Hopefully you'll tune in and see me on TV on HobbyMaker on the 11th of December. Thanks for watching, and bye for now.